Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to DnDTime Brews, the show that we do here every so often on the Wednesdays, where we do cool Dungeons and Dragons homebrew stuff. Usually it's like a race option or something like that, but we're doing spells today. I'm Jeremy, and I'm joined by Pete.
Here I am. I'm Pete. This
How you
is
doing,
like
Pete?
this is a kind of a new look for me. This is like my
This is Evil
unplugged.
Pete.
This is sort of my like unplugged album that a lot of artists do. This is Pete Unbuttoned. I don't have my top button on, and I don't have my my bow tie.
And strange enough, Pete, I'm the one getting all the rep about my shirt. Thank you, guys. Thank you. But yeah.
Lovely Deadpool shirt.
Oh, it's so comfortable, dude. It's not even funny how comfortable this t-shirt is. Like, I'm a cheap ass, so I don't have a lot of t-shirts, and I wear the shit out of my t-shirt. This is so comfortable. It's outrageous. But
the fun fact about Jeremy's shirt for everyone listening along at home: Jeremy's mom got that for him because she knew that at one point he saw the movie Deadpool.
It's true, and it's so comfortable.
So this is DnDTime Brews. Tonight we got something that's a little bit different than what we've done, I think, ever. We've never tackled spells in any way, and that's what we have on the docket tonight. We're going to be talking about a few different spells that me and Jeremy put some ideas together before we basically over the past week we've been just coming up with our own thoughts and trying to come up with some cool necromancy and other just spooky spells for the season. And we got some here that I think are really cool.
Yeah, we're basically going to just talk through them. Many of them are in rough forms that we can kind of discuss as a group. I see Blood saying, I see we've now, Pete's lack of bow tie, I've realized I've somehow moved to living in the evil timeline. This is the evil timeline. This is evil Pete. And I'm dead Jeremy. And
this was Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. Goodbye. Yeah.
Also, thank you, Blood. 16 months! Either Twitch is breaking or it's been 16 months and I've had so much fun that the time has flown by heckin' fast. It really has, Blood. Thank you so much for your support.
I didn't see it, but thank you.
And hello to everyone else hanging out in the chat. I see Cold Spark and the Forgotten One, not forgotten today. And Maddie Morgan, I know there are more of you are lurking in the shadows. But like Blood was saying, alternate timeline. And as Pete alluded, we're taking a different kind of format. Normally, we just kind of find our way through things in Brews. But today, kind of like with the undead race options that we did a long time ago now, we're kind of going to look at some stuff that's already in like a half-finished state. And then we're going to, see how we feel about it. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I was also going to just say, and as a note, this is, me and Jeremy have been talking about this is a little bit the direction we might be going with Brews for content moving forward, is in kind of coming in more with, prepared content, and like talking about it. So that's also a thing, like, let us know what you think of that direction as well.
Yeah, so like Pete was saying, at the beginning, maybe we will do a brainstorming session, and that's all we really do, right, is brainstorm and develop concepts. And then in between that and the next Brews, Pete and I would clean it up to about this state. So that way we can kind of go back and forth, and we miss the nitty-gritty, like, bludgeoning our heads against the desk trying to make something work part of it. Hopefully it'll be more entertaining, but let us know how you feel.
Indeed.
You ready to dive into this, Pete?
Yeah, take us into Howler's Vile Rising.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, Pete, but have you ever tried to, like, make spells before? I imagine some of our viewers have.
I have made 2 spells.
Okay, what were they just the ones in here, Pete?
No. I've made spells, but before today, never mind. I've made 5 spells. No, I've made 2 spells before this. One was, or actually both of them were for games in which players wanted to make their own spells, and they're like, I want my spell to do this, and I made spells for it. Yeah. One was like a combination of shield and magic missile, where they wanted to have a shield that would like catch stuff and then send energy back. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think what Pete kind of touched on there, and what I personally feel is I've tried to make spells before, and I go so far as to say I'm damn familiar with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. But I always have a really hard time making a spell unless I put myself in the mind space of a character that would want to use that spell. Making a spell in the abstract, just to me, doesn't really work. And like Pete wasn't thinking about the characters in his game that he was kind of making the spells for, that he knew exactly what they wanted to do. We created this Halderdant necromancer for these evil, vile spells. So yeah, let's talk through them a little bit. Oh, I see chat. Maddie Morgs, you've made some spells before. How does it go with you? Do you have like similar feelings there, Maddie? Do you have trouble if you're not in a character's kind of headspace trying to put something together, or can you just abstract make spells? And then Blood saying, never tried to make a spell. Closest I can say I've come to is considering giving a spell some sort of scaling.
I like that you didn't do it. You just thought about it.
Yeah, I've considered. I mean, I think we've all considered, like, how can we make comprehend languages scale? Right?
You comprehend...
It's not more languages because you comprehend them all.
I think comprehend languages scales into tongues.
I mean, that's... Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, our first one here, and these are all abilities that, like, we've considered, hey, you know what? This evil necromancer, this is some shit they'd want to do that you can't do with 5th edition D&D currently. Or you can do, but very much by a combination of a lot of spells in weird ways. So this is Halder's Vile Rising. It's an nth level necromancy. We don't know what level the spell is yet. That doesn't really matter too much. Takes 10 minutes to cast. This is not something you cast in combat. Range of 10 feet. You got to be close to where you're casting it. Components: the intact corpse of a creature which died within 7 days. Oh boy, there's that necromancy coming in, and it lasts 24 hours. So the basic idea for this spell is you target this corpse, this thing that has recently died, and if the creature's challenge rating is lower than the spell level, you can raise that creature back into unlife. There's some cool text in here. Raises a creature to a foul mockery of life as necrotic energy pulses through its veins. Its eyes glow green, and its pale skin bears the unmistakable chill of death. Right, some text in there to say, yeah, people know it's undead, right? It's not going to be secret undead unless you, like, put a cloak around it and a mask and really go through the paces.
And Jeremy, on the subject of higher level casting, this seems like it's designed to have a higher level casting on it at some point. Like you would be able to cast this at, I don't know
multiple levels.
What we decide on, but let's say arbitrarily that we decide that this starts out as a 3rd level spell. It seems like it might have a, I mean, I guess you could just do the flat out equal to the level. You could also, I imagine, do like a 5, 7, 9 scaling where it's like you can get this CR and then this CR and then this CR would also work.
Yeah, absolutely. That might be another, like, a more finesse way of doing it eventually. Kind of like, I know some of the summon elemental spells. Or celestial,
that's kind of what I was thinking there.
So
anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah, the key, well, I know it's important to note. Key aspects of the spell: the creature uses the stats it used in life. That's a really important note here. If you cast a spell at 8th level, you could get like some sort of challenge rating 8 monster. Or if you're traveling through the forest and you battle a bear and it's a harrowing battle, hell, you can raise that big old cave bear back as a zombie to serve you. Some other notes: the creature has basically the ice, kind of paraphrased here, equivalent to kind of the surface thoughts that you would get off detect thoughts. So the idea is you can get a little bit of knowledge, but nothing secret out of this zombie. And it can obey fairly complex commands. So you could use this or it could obey, I think instead of complex commands, we'd want to say it can obey commands that it could understand in life.
Yeah, that makes sense. And maybe there's even like an extra caveat on that, because if you raise a bear, maybe the bear couldn't understand the command, go attack the village, but you want it to work like that. So I think like there's a middle ground. We're finding some of the wording there. Maybe it's like a dominate person wording that you want to have, or just from animate dead, that might just be where it is too.
Yeah. Yeah, or simple commands, whichever.
Yeah.
Whichever is smarter. We'll come up with like good language if this ever, we ever polish this. And then, of course, lasts for 24 hours. You can send this thing out on a mission if you raise like a person, which could be really cool. And I took some text from the clone spell. Once the spell ends, the body becomes inert and cannot be restored to life. At least not in this manner. So, yeah, that's kind of the base concept of it. Maybe it needs some more drawbacks. I kind of tried to compare this to some comparable spells, like Infernal Calling is a good example, where you can summon a devil to do your bidding. It's fairly similar, but this doesn't have quite as much drawback. So, I don't know. Maybe it needs some more balance. Maybe it doesn't. Let's see. Oh my goodness, chat, you've exploded. Also, hello, Max. Welcome. Frog is saying, I can imagine these dark magics leading to a magic item that is an evil puzzle. Icosahedron. Oh my goodness, my brain. Oh. I know what you're trying to say. Maybe. Frog is saying, I imagine spells all the time, just in a different system. Yeah, exactly. Don't think of the mechanics of it, but like ideas.
I see Sword Coat here saying, can understand more complex commands based on int. And then, sorry, caps. It's okay, Sword. We forgive you for your caps.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, Sword. I think that's a very good idea. And that's kind of what I was going for with intelligence used in life. The problem is sometimes you get really dumb creatures that, like, it's a bear. Its intelligence is 2. Well, we want you to be able to command it, so, because it's your undead thrall.
And Wonder says, well, thank you for putting it in the Bard list. Yeah,
yeah. This is a Bard spell through and through.
You feel bardy about it? Why do you think Bard?
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Well, here's the thing. I thought of this spell in the headspace I was in for this Halder Daunt, right? This spell isn't for combat in my mind. It can be used for combat, but this is you raise like a body to send a message, right? That's kind of why it has that you can't restore the corpse to life aspect of it.
Okay.
You have to either create a whole new body with like a reincarnate spell or use like a true resurrection or something to bring them back. This is a dick move. You know, you're sending in an undead thrall to assassinate someone and like really send a message kind of deal. Or like, you know, it's someone near and dear to someone that you hate.
Pretty cool. I like that style. Also, this also gets us closer into the dream of being a necromancer, because when you see undead things like the Bodak and things like a Revenant, it's always kind of like, well, I'm a necromancer, how come I can't do a cool Revenant or a Bodak? And this gets you a little closer in that direction, even though you're not summoning those monsters specifically. You're summoning stranger and more powerful undead, which is cool.
And I want to note here, nowhere in this does it say that the creature you kill can't be undead.
That's true as well, yeah.
Now, maybe we want to say that at some point. Maybe we want this to be a beast, humanoid, drag, like give it a couple limits. Like you can't do this to an ooze. Yeah. In my mind, it's like DM's discretion to say like, yeah, the ooze doesn't leave behind an intact corpse.
It doesn't have a soul. Like, you know, there's.
Yeah. So, not only can old men in the land of DnDTime have their souls stripped for magical fuel, their bodies can be put to labor, says Matty Morgs. Whoa! I mean,
not in the land of DnDTime. In the land of DnDTime delves, that's true, probably.
You know, it totally exists in the land of D. What about Southtown?
Southtown, those are undead are not being forced to labor against their will. They're laboring for fair wages.
You know, that's fair. I didn't even think about that. And yeah, Maddie, bards actually do make really nice necromancers in 5e. That's a commonly missed like niche for them, actually, with especially with the lore bard getting magical secrets earlier.
Yeah, I've actually done that on the lore bard before.
Yeah, so I do wish the spell could be recast each day to maintain the cohesion of the undead servant. Yeah, Blood, I think it's interesting because that, I think, niches too. I don't want this to be a follower. At least that wasn't my concept for it. It's a one-time kind of use is how I saw it. Maybe, you know, you could use it for 7 days. That might not be a bad idea since it already has that time limit there. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think that could be cool. Also, there's something like flavorful about within 7 days. If you catch it on the last day, it's 1 day. That might be a little annoying to word in the spell, but I, as a DM, like if I was using this, might just rule it that way because it's cool.
Yeah. And actually,
yeah.
realistically, if this were in the Forgotten Realms, it'd be 10 days because that's how long a week is there. But I'm going to keep it a 7 because I like that. Yeah,
I love the 10-day week.
All right, we'll make it 10 days.
I mean, not for your thing. I'm just saying in general. I just like the 10-day week. I use 10-day week in my home game.
So let's move on because we don't want to stick too long on this one. I'm like, you guys are liking it, so I'm liking that so far. And I think this is this kind of spell, which I don't know about you, Pete, but I don't know if we could use this in D&D time because it does have this specific requisite.
Oh yeah, this is a spell that I don't think. I think there's the same reason that we haven't banned the Necromancer subclass of the wizard in any way.
Limited.
But there's a lot of reasons why we don't see a lot of those because it's very limited in terms of the way that summoning works in D&D time. So this would kind of go against that. It's also more of like an out of combat thing that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. No, I'm sorry. I was saying because there was a question in the chat. Blood was saying you could just note that the spell works off the GM's discretion. That was kind of in context of you can't raise an ooze with this. Yeah, I mean, by saying intact corpse, that's what this is, right? That's saying this is a GM discretion moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if we were going to give this like a fine polish. What do you think, Pete? Do you think we'd actually put stipulations in about creature types?
I always would try to err on the side of not. Like, if you can keep anything that you can keep to simplify a spell, I think is better. And I think intact corpse is obviously flavored enough that it will be kind of, it has that sort of subtext of a GM decides whether or not it is an intact corpse.
Yeah, ooze don't got corpse. Aberrations, maybe they got a corpse. I'd love raising a mind flayer with this. Holy shit, that'd be sick. Oh, I'd be so down.
9th level. What level is a mind flayer? Is mind flayer 6, 7, 8?
Yeah, I think they're 7. So you'd be a 7th level spell. You could raise a mind flayer. That'd be so cool. We also haven't noted in here if the ability, we haven't stipulated that the creature loses any spells or other magical effects it knows. And
implied that it doesn't here.
Yeah, implied that it doesn't. I think if we were to actually do this, we would. I would probably want to put some text on here saying anything that has like a recharge is a one-time use feature, and it can't regain spell slots or hit points. I think that's probably.
Yeah, that might make sense. I don't. That also might be just too complicated, though. Like, it almost seems like something that would be worth not doing just for the sake of having it be simpler.
Yeah, it all depends on how much limit we end up putting on it. Let's see.
But for now, let's move on to the next one since we're.
Yeah. We're rambling. This is another Halder spell. I was very much in the Halder mindset. This is not a necromancy spell. This is some other black magic. Halder's Iron Bargain.
Ooh.
I've played a lot of games off of the stream with a player who's really into that conjuration magic. Like, really wants to summon, minions and have the minions really fight for them. They want to fight vicariously through their pets.
It's a really cool archetype that I don't think is well implemented in 5e.
It sucks in 5e, for lack of a better term. And that's where this spell comes in. It's a very low level, 2nd level conjuration. Takes an action, you use it in combat. It's got a range of 30 feet, and its material component, which I love material components, a good material component, is a length of iron chain. I wanted to kind of tie the Iron Bargain, iron chain, kind of tie this into the hells with, Despater, Lord of the City of Iron. But anyway, so yeah, it summons a spined devil, which, if you're not familiar, is a pretty low-B devil. It's not a particularly scary dude. It's challenge rating 2, so 2nd level spell for a CR2 monster. Sure. The Spine Devil's got a lot of resistances to stuff because it's the devil, which is really nice, so it'll last longer. But the bargain here is you can spend your own hit dice and take damage, and then that boosts the devil's abilities, right? The ability to attack. So that's kind of the trade-off here. And then if you would go down, if you would be knocked unconscious, the devil desummons after 1d4 rounds or something. I think there's some text in one of the summon demon spells we could borrow there. And the creature tries to kill you specifically because this devil wants to take you to hell, and you've made a deal with the devil, so you've damned yourself.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the gimmick I'm going for here. A very at low levels, obviously, Spine Devil's a fine monster. It's only got a +4 to hit on its tail spine, which, is acceptable at when you're casting second level spells. So maybe you don't need to roll any hit dice. But at level 15, when you're a level 15 character, having a monster with +4 to hit is terrible.
That's a question from Reflectus8. No concentration for control. Was that intentional?
Yeah, actually, this was very much intended not to be a concentration spell. Kind of like the Barlgura. Which one is that?
Summon Greater Demon. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much. You say Barlgura because that's the only thing anyone ever summons because it's the best.
It's so cool. I mean, the Shadow Demon's actually better in my opinion. But anyway, the reason I didn't want concentration here, I saw this kind of like a very gambling wizard's spiritual weapon, right? The Spine Devil, it attacks, its damage is 1d4 +2, and then an extra 3 fire, or 1d6 fire damage. So it's going to hit for about 7 damage per attack. Pretty comparable to a spiritual weapon, which is going to do a d8 plus your wisdom modifier. But it attacks twice, so it's going to do 14 damage. So it's, a little higher than your spiritual weapon. But in order to get that to hit up, you got to sacrifice some hit points. And it always has that gambit of trying to kill you after. So, I don't know. I like this a lot, personally. And it only tries to kill you when you're unconscious, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some cool stuff there. I might, if it's going to be a non-concentration spell, because I just kind of, in my mind, was imagining it as concentration the whole time, it might want to be like a tie to action economy to command, maybe like a bonus action to tell it what to do or something, so it does have that slight restriction on it.
Yeah, it might need that.
But I don't know. I think I could see myself wanting to have Old Spine Devil.
Yeah, well, if we're gonna give it that, what if we call it a bonus action to cast?
I mean, you could also. I don't know. This does feel like an action to like summon a devil, though. Like spiritual weapon feels kind of like it appears, but this feels so much bigger in summoning.
What if this is like this is a deal you made before? The devil's just waiting for you to, is
the flavor.
Yeah, right. They're just waiting because they want to take you to hell.
I mean, perhaps.
Like I don't know. We got some. Well, highlight these in a different color, maybe like green. But I really dig this. I think there's a place for it. I just need to figure out where that is in my brain space because this trade-off. I'm not sure how that works as we get to higher levels.
Yeah, I guess if this is kind of a wizardy spell.
Yeah,
I mean, bonus action isn't that crazy for a wizard specifically. That's not like one of their big ones.
Oh, because they're just going to be using a cantrip with the other one. Is the idea behind it, right? I mean, they have to use a cantrip.
Yeah. Oh well, no. Command wouldn't be. They could use a spell and then still. You don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, on subsequent turns. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to hop on to the next one?
Yeah, I saw we had a question from Maddie Morg saying intact. Intact was the keyword on the previous one. Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything too big. So yeah, this is another one. This one is an enchantment spell. Invoke Hysteria. Not sure what level we want to go for. This is actually a pretty similar spell to Incite Greed, which is a spell from Acquisitions Incorporated. But I've kind of turned it in a little bit of a different direction, where the other one just kind of effectively stuns creatures indefinitely. This one makes them hate each other. So I think of this as like, you flip a coin at a tavern, or maybe you throw a bouquet at a wedding, right? And people just start killing each other for it. So it's an action, 30 feet, you flip a gold coin or other desirable object of equivalent value which the spell consumes. You throw an object within 30 feet, humanoids within 10 feet of that have to roll a wisdom save or desire the object, perceptions changing towards other creatures affected by the spell. So they become hostile towards creatures they were previously indifferent toward, and indifferent toward creatures they were previously friendly toward. Upon taking damage, the effect ends, although they do not intrinsically realize they were under the effects of a spell. So the idea is, if you're affected by the spell, Pete, right? and you really want, I don't know, chat's attention. And I really want chat's attention. Because chat's attention is worth 1 gold piece. And chat just throws himself out there. They're like, here we go. And I punch you. The spell ends for you. But you know that I just punched you, and you don't, like, you realize I just punched you over chat. And
that's
how
true.
do you react to that, right? Do you, like, say, what the hell, and back off? Or
well, also, I think more accurately, like, the situation here is...
You start a bar fight.
In reading this, you and I would say, are friendly to each other. So if you flip a coin and you drop it on the table, we're now indifferent. So I don't know if you would punch me in that situation. I think that in that situation, both of us now are just not friends. We're just like both kind of like tensely like, who's gonna
you fuck off? This chat's mine.
That seems odd. That sounds hostile, though. I like this sort of passive aggressive sort of like, well, I guess maybe I'll take the coin, and then like, well, don't just go saying that. I mean, it's the coin's on the table. There's got to be some fairer way to decide. Don't just get to take the coin. Like
but I said it first.
What I'm getting at is I like this weird, like passive aggressive situation that can be created between two friends.
Yeah, it really. I mean, the whole point of the spell, right? It's a distraction. It is a magical distraction. I don't know, what level would you put this at? I think
it seems more complex than a first level spell could be, but it doesn't seem that high level to me. That may be second.
Yeah, I'm torn between first or second level because it doesn't do anything necessarily, right? Lance! Oh no, there's only one slice of pizza.
Exactly that scenario. One slice of pizza, one. I don't know. To me, it just feels like.
Except you got to throw the slice of pizza. It's worth a gold piece. It's an expensive fucking pizza.
You can.
Or it's a cheap pizza.
One thing I think the spell could need is like I think it does need some kind of caveat that's like they try and get the thing. Even though it's like it's implied that they try and get the thing, but worded as it is, it's like you might toss a coin between two enemies that are fighting you, and the DM could just DM could just kind of rule like, all right, mechanically they are no longer friendly towards each other, they are now indifferent towards each other, but they don't necessarily like act on it. I feel like it has to have some kind of they act on their impulses.
It's interesting because it's interesting that you mentioned it that way because I did not see this as a combat spell at all.
I agree.
Very much saw this as an out of combat item, and I'd be wondering how the hell you would interact with this in combat.
I agree, but I'm just like, when you say that, it's the same scenario in which someone like, for example, in combat tries to like, charm a person or suggest something. I picture this being used in the same way, where it can be kind of like outside of intended use case, where it's a little bit funky.
Well, I think suggestion is actually a really great point of that, right? And it's the opposite of calm emotions, Maddie. We had so much of a rant against calm emotions the other day. We had to make anti-calm emotions. It's kind of like with suggestion, though. Every DM rules suggestion differently. Every single one. And I don't necessarily think that's a problem with the spell, right? I don't think that's something that would be...
I kind of do.
I mean, it is, but at the same time, every group is going to rule that in the way that's the most fun for that group. You know what I mean? If a player is really abusing the hell out of it, the Dungeon Master is going to rule it more strictly. And if the DM is a little more flexible with it and the players don't really abuse the hell out of it, well,
I mean, no, I get what you're saying. And in an ideal world, that's true. I would just rather design such as to create a minimum of ambiguity. I think it's just better to make it as clear as possible how it works. Because it also, if the DM doesn't interpret the way the player does, it can, feel bad. And it's better to, try and get those things out. It's not something I think that we should try and change or work on. And
well, actually,
I don't know, there's a scenario here that's really cool that this spell can make, and I like it.
I think you have a great... Actually, I'm with you 100% now, because I think you're right. We want the creatures to go for the item. I think what we just say, right? Each humanoid within 10 feet desires the object, attempting to get it.
To get it.
Unless threatened. You know, like, we don't need exact phrasing here. That's the concept.
Yeah. I think that, like, that, and that's enough to satisfy me, honestly. Just, like, making sure...
Right.
Making sure that there's a clear... Just, they will actually try and do the thing. Makes me feel a lot better about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's the point. I mean, that's exactly what we're going for here, right? Yeah. What needs to be in here, what doesn't. I love it. Also, hello, dude man. Welcome to this server. I said hello earlier, but thank you.
Yeah,
it's great to see you hanging
Discord and community. Yeah.
Let's see. What is next? Oh no. Things just got weird. All right, we're good. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, we're set. The chat bot just kind of, I guess, rebooted on me.
But that's a cool kind of chaos creator, and I think there's a lot of flavor here as well that I really like. But for now, do you want to pop on the next one?
Yeah. Also, Adrian said limiting it to humanoids. Yeah, we've limited it to humanoids. Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely meant to distract people. All right.
I mean, but I will say I could picture throwing a hunk of meat to a bunch of dogs.
Oh, yeah, but like I think that's gonna work anyway. You don't need a spell to do that.
That's fair.
You don't need a first or second level spell to make dogs.
Like, that's the old material component, not actually magic situation.
Yeah, this is just I'm a bard and I'm good animal handling and I threw some meat to the dogs.
Just look at my, I just picture, like, the fake wizard. Look at the cool spell I cast. I call it Invoke Hysteria, throws meat to duck.
Yeah.
Dilute Life. Bring us there, Jeremy.
Yeah, sure. This is a much, I guess, higher level spell. This is 5 to 6. And this is, like, one of those whack kind of spells. This is kind of along the lines of, like, Hallow or hallucinatory terrain. So that actually has more practical use. Maybe Mirage Arcane would be a better example, but this is the fifth or sixth level. I don't know where I want to put it. Necromancy. It takes not one action. That should be 1 minute. Takes a minute to cast, and it should not. Whatever. We'll figure out the range. The component is a cracked diamond worth at least 1,000 gold, which the spell consumes, or once worth at least 1,000 gold. Oh. And should not have a concentration. We're gonna have to fix this. I didn't finish some of that, I guess. So the idea is you bury this diamond in the ground, and maybe the radius of it maybe depends on the level of spell. If you like upcast it, maybe it gets to up to a mile or something. But I don't know. I was thinking like a couple 100 feet. And then over the course of 10 days, natural plant life chokes and withers. I want to take some language from Albie Dalzim's Horrid Wilting to really fit in there. At the end of the 10th day, the area becomes desecrated ground. See that Dungeon Master's Guide, page 110. And the bodies of dead creatures in the area are raised as mindless undead. The idea is those mindless undead wander aimlessly, but attack the nearest non-undead creature that they can perceive.
You just make a bad zone.
Yeah, well, I mean, you create a zombie horde. You go to that graveyard, you plant this diamond, and 10 days later, the dead rise, right, and attack the town.
Okay, see, this is actually a little different than what I had. Because I wasn't quite like getting that vibe. Because when I read it, I thought it was more about just making the land bad. I pictured.
It does make the land bad.
Well, it makes the land bad. That's more the side effect, and the goal is to kind of like get undead ready for you to control them later. Is the idea, right?
Oh no, they're mindless. I mean, they're uncontrolled, mindless undead.
But you can. Doesn't Animate Dead allow you to take control over uncontrolled?
3?
Well, regardless.
Yeah.
Terry, can I throw out an alternative name?
Yeah, sure.
How do you feel about Salt the Earth?
So good. And maybe instead of a cracked diamond, it's a salt lick? No, it's got to be a cracked diamond still. I like that.
The cracked diamond is very cool. I like that.
Plants diamond in the village well. Yeah, exactly, Lance, right? Like, I don't know. I see this is cool in a lot of ways. I don't know. It's just something that doesn't exist in 5th edition D&D right now. This is you're an evil guy, and you're just causing chaos. You're raising the dead, probably to distract from some greater ploy that you're. This is a ploy to your grander plot elsewhere.
This is absolutely an ability intended for an evil character. There's I think no possible way you could say that this was a positive move, like unjustifiable as a good character without a ton of like convoluted steps.
Or touch.
And that's probably the reason why we haven't seen something like this. But I like spells that are designed like for both sides of the coin, which D&D leans towards the good side in its design, but it doesn't always neglect the darker sides of magic. And this is dark. No two ways about it.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I just think this is the kind of ability that a lot of characters would do, right? Like a lot of particularly evil characters. And I like that.
Agreed. Like I can also picture
even like good characters could do this, right? Like if they really need a distraction or something. Enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Yeah.
The evil army's coming. Let's fucking plant some zombies to stop them.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool too. There's some stuff you can do with it.
I may have actually run a game one time where the players actually did that. We weren't playing in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. We were playing in a homebrew system that I had made. But that's one of the things that the necromancer did. They knew there was a big army coming, so they just raised all of the undead. Just every dead thing they could find in the forest. It's a zombie now.
And as a GM,
just left out there.
As a GM, this is something that I would have a bad guy do, and then have the players just encounter it. Is also a cool thing for this spell. Like, just give it to your NPCs, and I would also just rule that you can. I would also rule that you can dig up the diamond and end the spell.
I agree. I think it has a vulnerability, so maybe it probably needs like
that like diamond, that cracked diamond at its heart to work.
Yeah, if diamond removed, spell ends. Oh, if diamond removed from Earth, it
spell
crumbles
ends.
To salt,
cool.
and the spell ends. So, other thing is, this is a spell that as a player is cool, but as a dungeon master, if this was a spell in the game and you're running it, and even if your players were good, if they were familiar that the spell existed and they come across an undead horde and they're like, wow, it's really concentrated over here. And then
there's
they start looking
literally
around.
Circle where the trees start to be dead.
Yeah, right. And they kind of fight their way through this horde, get their way kind of toward the middle exploring, and sure enough, they find this cracked diamond kind of glowing in the earth, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, shit, right? They recognize that there's that acknowledgement of, wait a minute. This was made by a cast. Someone did this. It's not some supernatural, sporadic evil. And I don't know. That, to me, I see as a really cool, like, storytelling opportunity.
A funny idea from Creativity Cal here. Unless your lawful good characters come across a cannibal village and reanimate the bones of the victims to seek justice. Yeah, there are some convoluted ones you can do to make it justifiable.
I would call that perfectly reasonable. I agree, Creativity. If I were playing, I guess in this case, I've just put Cleric and Necromancer Wizard because I haven't really thought through what classes would get this. But if I were playing a Cleric, I would be looking for any opportunity to use this, especially if I were a good character. Like, how can I use this and make it okay?
How can I justify this terrible, terrible thing? We'll move on to the next one, Jeremy. This is my favorite one of the ones that you've put together here.
Well, thank you. I don't remember which one it is. Oh, blood. The classes. These are placeholders. I mean, these are just the ones that we need to make sure it gets. Yeah, this is called Feast for Crows. And I imagine the Malice and Musings of Halder Daunt. That's a spell book, right? Or maybe it's his autobiography. He's a bard.
I don't know. I don't know nothing about no Halder Daunt. That's
Feast for Crows. This spell might be familiar to some of you. It's a 6th level conjuration, 10 minutes to cast. It's got a range of 30 feet, verbal somatic components, on a material, a gem-crusted bowl set with onyx worth at least 1,000 gold pieces, which the spell consumes. Instantaneous duration, and then the effect. You bring forth a farce of a feast, including a garish array of food and drink. The feast takes 1 hour to consume and rapidly decays at the end of that time, and the detrimental effects don't set in until this hour is over. Up to 12 creatures can partake in the feast, and creatures that you designate when you cast a spell are immune to its detrimental effects. A creature that partakes in the feast suffers several detriments. The creature is cursed, gaining vulnerability to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Its hit point maximum is also decreased by 2d10, and it loses the same number of hit points. This curse and the hit point reduction lasts for 24 hours or until a creature completes a long rest, whichever is short. This is
Dark Heroes Feast.
Yeah, this is like your characters think they're getting a hero's feast and then fucking sick betrayal. I love this so much. It reminds me of the Potion of Poison, which is a very infrequently seen magic item in 5e.
But for Heroes Feast.
Yeah, I really like this.
Also, the double thing I like about that is, like, if it's being used against a party, I love the idea that not only are they being, like, put down, it's also they were thinking that they were doing this because they were going into a very dangerous situation, probably.
Yep.
So it's like, oh wow, you guys are in particularly screwed for the big dragon you're gonna fight, and also we're gonna kill you right now anyway.
Yeah, this is very much like a Julius Caesar stab circle kind of ability. I think you're meeting with your pals, and they all draw knives. I also think, like, for those of you who watched The Black Hand, our first DnDTime tale that we just kind of finished up the other week. I think we finished it. We'll announce more about that later. But that's the kind of thing that, like, we would use in that kind of move, right? This is like your assassins hold a grand feast specifically to hit a couple targets and really mess them up. I really love this ability, personally. A fickle feast is an idea from Creativity Cal. Not a bad idea. I really like Feast for Crows. I know, as Farfel said, it's a book by George R.R. Martin. But I don't know. That just, like, fits well to me. You know, I like it.
I'm with you. I think Feast for Crows is very cool. I don't think that's a George R.R. Martin original. That's just a famous saying.
Oh God, no. Yeah, that's a very old saying.
I'm
this is a wonderful meat piecaster
really
friend. Yeah, exactly, Lance.
Oh
exactly.
Dear. And in the same vein, I mean, as, like, say, using it proactively, like the players using it as sort of a set up an assassination on a king or something like that. Like, this is also cool in that regard. Like, we've prepared a glorious hero's feast for you. Moves, drums fingers together malevolently.
Yeah, right. Or, you know, I can see this being used in, like, a super, like, deep cover plan, right? It's like, hey, we're going to help the bad guy. We're going to do something really bad for the bad guy, right? So that we can then gain their trust. And then offer to help them with the worst thing and offer them a hero's feast and betray them, right? Like, I see this as this could be used in a lot of really cool ways to me.
Agreed. Anyway, that one...
I'm sorry. Reflected 10-8. A creature that dies while affected by this spell spawns 1d4 crows from their mouth that consume them. Yikes!
Dark.
That's getting a little too aberrant, I think. Yeah. I don't know. What classes would you give to this, Pete? Would you
this is a cleric spell, for sure. This is a...
Bard, probably.
Maybe Bard. I don't know. I'm a little less into Bard on this one. Wizard.
Garish Feast.
Garish Feast, but I don't think of, like, even Hero's Feast as a Bard. Hero's Feast isn't a Bard spell, is it?
I mean,
I think anyone who gets Hero's Feast should get this. And the answer is Cleric and Druid. Yeah.
I like the idea that a Bard could do it, though. But, you know, we can think about it more. Oh, Reflect 10-8 had it off the dome, Druid.
Druid.
Farfel was agree. Anyone with Hero's Feast. I kind of like the Bard, though, because the Cleric's like, wait, you know that? Yeah, of course I do.
It's also, in that case, it's also a rogue spell.
6th level Arcane Trickster Rogue, can never cast it.
But it is a rogue spell.
All right, let's keep on moving it. I mean, a bard can always get this with their magical secrets too.
Yeah.
So,
Blood Deuce was saying, I like the idea that bards get a less bad spell list. See, I think it's just bards are just expected to have magical secrets. I think that bards should
just a whole nother topic though.
I think that all bards should just get additional magic secrets. Lore bard should be part of the bard class.
Agreed.
Beside the point. Let's move on. To Woeful Wind.
You want to read this one, Pete? I've been reading a lot of them.
These are all your spells.
All right, I'll read it.
Read your spell, Jeremy. Let people know about your Woeful Wind.
3rd level necromancy, 1 action, 25-foot cube. That's right, folks. I made it a big cube. Verbal somatic, no material components that time. Lasts for 1 round. You call forth a wave of ghastly spirits which swell like a frigid wind, chilling the living to their bones. Each creature in a 25-foot cube must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 3d8 necrotic damage and can't regain hit points until the start of your next turn. Kind of like a big AoE chill touch. A humanoid killed by the spell raises at the start of your turn as a zombie that is temporarily under your control. Under your command. It follows your verbal orders, no action required, to the best of its ability for 1 minute, after which it collapses into an inanimate corpse. So, I like this a lot, personally. I find it as it's not a lot of damage for a 3rd level spell. I mean, you're up against fireballs at 3rd level, 8d6 is worth of damage.
You see, to me though, this isn't actually reading as you use this to deal damage spell. This reads to me
finish
more
fuckers
as,
off.
Well, the one to finish people off, but also I'm just picturing a bad guy walking into a town square. And you now have 25 commoners because each cube was full of them.
You have 25 zombies.
Yeah,
zombie
exactly.
Stat block.
So that's the kind of scenario that I'm imagining with this spell, more than it being used aggressively in you're fighting a monster.
Yeah, I agree. That was the image in my mind. Like I said, I keep myself in the thought, the mindset of this this Halderdaunt, and yeah, that's exactly the moment I had in mind. Right, you walk into the tavern, someone hey, you necromancers aren't welcome in this part of town, and just a wave of sickening cold. It just shows the tavern from the outside. The windows blow open. There's a green radiance inside or something. And then the lights all go out, right?
This seems like blue necromancy to me.
Yeah, maybe.
I think there are 4 colors of necromancy, and those are green, blue, purple, and black. This seems like blue necromancy to me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I agree. This is ghosts, but it's also zombies. Reflect Donate. I turned the goblin horde into my zombie horde. Yeah, I like that as well. You can turn this from a situation of, all right, it's the bad guy and his tons of minions, right? To it's the bad guy and my tons of minions. Creativity Cal's got another name idea: Wind of Woe instead of Woeful Wind.
That's also cool. I could be convinced either way on that.
I think I'm just gonna put them both on there for now, and who knows? But I agree, that is a very good one. I'd have to.
Who would you give this to?
What classes? Oh, yeah. Geez.
I would give this to.
Paladins. I'd give this to Paladin, actually. I'm serious. I'd put this on the Paladin.
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I can kind of see it.
Yeah.
You're picturing.
You walk up. You stride in like a badass, and then things die to your power, right?
This is the Lich King from World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it?
Yeah,
Warlock? Oh yeah, this is a Warlock.
I almost want it to deal some cold damage.
Yeah, but we'd have to change it from D8s.
Yeah, I'm with you. It can't in the current iteration, but I just that aesthetic. It feels like it
feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I like Warlock, and Warlock was good option there from Lance. Reflect Donate in the chat. And what else did we just say? Paladin, and that's it.
Want to do Vigor Mortis, Jeremy?
What if we just gave this to Paladins and Warlocks?
Paladins and Warlocks?
It's going to go to the Necromancer Wizard.
Yeah, Wizards should get it.
I mean, that's the whole point of what we're talking about.
I was considering Cleric as well. But
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's right, but
yeah, let's move on to our next boy here. This is one that for me, I think if I were playing a necromancer, I'd want to do this. And it spell's called Rigor Mortis. It's a 2nd level necromancy. It's a bonus action.
Jeremy, it's called Vigor Mortis.
Vigor Mortis.
That's my favorite thing about it. Is the name. It's so good.
Bonus action, 60 feet, a sprig of belladonna, which is deadly nightshade. Duration 1 round. You empower an undead creature you can see. It regains some hit points. It does an additional 2d6 damage on its next successful melee attack before the spell ends, and its speed is doubled until the start of your next turn. I love this. This is just go, my minion, right? Like that's what this is to me.
Yep.
I like it a lot. At 2nd level, I'm pretty happy here.
Yeah.
I like the 2d6 hit points because like healing your minions, I think is important too. The speed, I think, is super important for this.
Yeah, I think this is a well put together spell. Like this almost, honestly, this feels less like a spell to me and more like a class feature. You know what I mean? Like it seems like this is the kind of thing that a necromancer should be able to do, have more like direct interactions with that, but they also can't design it that way because they don't. Because necromancy isn't built in the class, it's built into spells, which is a little funky, but...
I also really like this as a thing of... And a couple of these spells, this one and our very, very first one, Vile Rising, these focus on one creature. And that's like... The issue with summoning in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons is that it only works with lots of things. There's not really a good, you summon a single thing. There are like a couple of very high-level ones, like Conjure Demon and Infernal Calling, which is new in Mordenkainen Stomatophos. And those are really good and really popular spells that people love to use because they're fun to use. Whereas I summon 8 wolves is not really that fun, in my opinion.
I agree. Well,
it can be.
Yeah.
But it just sucks when your 8 crappy wolves don't do anything.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean,
when your one big Barlgura does something sick, right?
Yep. The ones that I don't like are the middle ground ones where it's like I summon 2 kind of shitty things.
It's 2 Maw demons. Bleh.
Yeah.
Bleh.
We'll go on the next one?
Yeah, well, I just want to say, Creativity Cal gave us the seal of approval on the wordplay. Thank you, Creativity Cal.
It's an extremely good joke.
And yes, something good. Wraithful Co here can get behind. Yes, Sword. I'm glad you like it. Heal your minions. Don't you want your undead or goblins unionizing? Their cases need to be toppled. Oh boy. All right, yeah, let's go. What's our next boy?
Our next boy is.
Oh, this is yours, Pete.
Oh, I finally earned in my zone.
I love this one.
This is my favorite of mine. A cantrip. We have Shadow Puppet here. This is an illusion cantrip with a casting time of 1 action and a range of 30 feet. No verbal components, but it's somatic, and then the material component is a lit match. It has a duration of 1 minute. The way it works is choose an object or a creature you can see within range that is casting a shadow no larger than 10 feet in any dimension. Until the spell ends, you can control its shadow. You can cause the shadow to change into simple forms and animate at your direction, and can make the shadow appear to be of one size category larger or smaller. So it's sort of a minor illusion that specifically allows you to control shadows, but gives you a little bit more versatility in how much you can do with it.
I love this.
I really like it too. And I'm imagining like 2 directions you could go with this, which is the more sort of trickstery direction where you're, say, like, a bard, or I imagine like a rogue might take this cantrip if you're an arcane trickster, and you're sneaking around, then, you're walking around a corner and you make your shadow look like a big monster that's about to sneak up and scare people away. Well, it's wizard, so it counts.
Oh. Thank you.
And the other option is like if you're playing a more kind of like sinister or kind of scary character, I can picture the intimidation of like your shadow like looming up high behind you, and it gets like a devilish grin on its face and stuff like that. I don't know. This is something I would really want to play around with.
Enhancing your intimidation as a bard, maybe you're telling a story at a tavern and it's like playing out on the wall behind you in your shadow.
Yeah, that's really cool too.
There's so much cool, flavorful stuff you can do with this that you could also just do with Minor Illusion, just not as well because it's an anime. I really like where this fits in as more limited than Minor Illusion, but also more versatile in that limited space. Really sick. Just top notch. I just have a vision, right, of like the little bunny folk barbarian just sneaking around the corner, or the little bunny folk rogue sneaking around the corner. They peek around and there's like, oh shit, there's like a dozen guards, and they go, yeah. They light the match, and then the shadow just is like a giant, like a werewolf, and the guards like, oh, and they turn and run.
Yeah, I know the exact scenario. That's the dream.
Yeah, that's the dream of this spell.
This one got me very excited to play with it.
I agree. I also think, Pete, well done. Like, very well balanced for a cantrip.
Thank you. My next spells aren't as good as this one.
Well, let's move on to one of those spells. I don't know if they're not as good.
I mean, in my own mind. But let's look at...
we're all our hardest critic.
Indeed. Tether Spirit is the next one here, which was a 4th level necromancy spell. Has a casting time of 1 reaction, which you take in response to seeing one humanoid creature within 60 feet of you die. It has a range of 60 feet. And then verbal and somatic components only. I didn't put material components on it, because I think it's generally you don't with reaction spells. But I might be just saying that off the top of my head without it being true. And it has a duration of up to a minute with concentration. And the spell works like this. You create an ethereal tether which prolongs a creature's transition to the afterlife. The dead creature regains 1 hit point and animates to false life for the spell's duration using the statistics it used in life. While animated in this way, the creature is friendly to you and your companions and will follow orders you give it to the best of its abilities. Additionally, a creature animated in this way does not fall unconscious from being reduced to 0 hit points. The spell ends early if the creature dies, and the creature dies when the spell ends. The spell cannot be used to target the same creature again for 24 hours. So the scenario on this is you see something die, and then as a necromancer, you kind of hold that. I picture it's like a handhold in my mind where you just throw it out and you just kind of grab it and like, I'm going to borrow you for just a moment while you're dying, is the idea of this.
Yeah, I see this really, actually, you mentioned this earlier, Pete, when we were talking about this, just briefly. We didn't talk a lot off stream, but I like the idea, right, of you're in that final battle, right, with the big bad evil dude, and they turn and finger of death, and your barbarian dies. And it's just, but wait, no! And that barbarian, they're dead. Right, now they're this undead creature, but at least, hey, they've got, like, they can still play for another 3 hits as they die of death saves again.
A few more rounds. Yeah, give them a little bit of extra time.
And they get
it's
that,
very
like,
dramatic.
Yeah, super dramatic. There's that last laugh. I also could see this as really helpful if you have any sort of like beast companion creatures in your party, or maybe like a bag of tricks, right? You summon a rhinoceros and it's like, oh no, the rhinoceros is dead, but wait! I don't know. I think it's very cool.
I was really on the fence between 3rd, 4th, and 5th level. Like, I didn't know where to put it. Because it's like, there's a lot of, I think, scenarios in which this is bad, and like the creature comes back and then just gets beaten down by like a bunch of like goblin hits, and then dies. But also really good where it's,
only affect humanoids?
It only affects humanoids as it stands.
That really does limit capacity.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking. I was like even considering 3rd level, but animate magic also tends to be better, and it's on
this
reaction.
Is definitely a 4th. This is definitely
reaction economy as well.
Yeah. Very niche, but incredibly good where it comes up. If you're fighting lots of dudes, it's a very good spell. So actually, if you're playing most module adventures, this is a really, really good spell. There definitely needs to be there needs to definitely be some text in here about like what the creature knows, right?
Yeah,
because I can totally see the idea of like the last enemy in the combat. Oh, I tether their soul. Tell me everything you know, right? And I don't think that's the intent here.
That is not. I pictured this as more of a mindless sort of thing. So yeah, I think you're right that it needs a little bit of extra text in there. And there's a lot of, I think, as with all summons and all like animations and stuff, there's a lot of like subtle nuance in the wording And I think this is probably, the text on this would be a lot longer in a polished version. But
Yeah. And this would be one of those spells that, like, it's worth it to have that extra text. You know, we're always talking about simplicity and keeping it as simple as possible. Sometimes it's worth it to take the extra time. You just want to make sure that's the exception to the rule and not the rule.
Yeah, as simple as you can, while also being very clear about how the spell works.
Yeah, and I think on the reaction economy, it's cool. And I think all of you can see the main focus of a lot of these spells are ways to get you undead minions besides animate dead. Because, man, I've got some problems with animate.
But animate dead, I mean, it's not a bad spell on its own. I mean, it's a good spell. It's like, it's not problematic on its own, in my opinion, but like, it's just kind of boring if that's the only thing that you can do as a necromancer.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, let's move on to our next one here. Hellfire.
This is our last spell here, which I was calling Hellfire, which was a 5th level evocation spell, instantaneous casting time, 120-foot range, verbal and somatic components. The material component is a shard of brimstone, and instantaneous duration. And the way it works is malevolent red flames erupt from the ground beneath a creature you can see within range. The target must succeed on a dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes 3d10 fire damage and 3d10 necrotic damage and begins to burn. A burning target takes 1d10 fire damage at the start of their turn until they or another creature use an action to put out the flames or they submerge themselves in water. On a successful save, a creature takes half as much damage and doesn't begin to burn. So I was kind of, when I was imagining this, I was picturing it as sort of like an evil flame strike, because the clerics get flame strike, and it's this big kind of AoE, holy fire, kind of comes up, and I pictured that, but for hellish flames. And Jeremy, you were pointing out to me that this is a little similar to the Immolation spell.
Yeah, there's another 5th level evocation spell called Immolation. It's from Xanathar's Guide to Everything. It's pretty comparable to this, and that's okay. Weird. Yeah, it's all right to have spells that are similar. I mean, Shatter or I guess Shatter's not a great example. Catapult and Chromatic Orb are pretty similar spells. They have their niche differences here and there. Catapult can continue in its line to maybe hit another target. Chromatic Orb has more damage types. And similarly to Immolation, this is a little differently. It's got different damage types, and the burning functions differently. In this case, this burning happens until they take an action or submerge themselves in water. It's got some actually pretty interesting niches for how to deal with it, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, I also...
The other one has to have a saving throw, which, whatever.
That's fine, that's more standard.
Pretty standard.
Jeremy, I think that D&D on the whole, like the spell lists, and this is a play style, more mechanical play style, that I think a lot of people would be very into, but we don't see more of. I think there should be more dots in D&D. There's so few dots.
It's because they're forgettable.
That's a fair point. But I mean, in the same way, though, I think there's so many things that aren't dots but function like a dot, where you have to remember it every turn. There's your spirit guardians for one thing. All of your sit an area down. There are all of your save ends effects, your fears and stuff. Like, I don't actually see that much difference personally in just remembering to do some damage instead of remembering to save end or.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funky. And also, should this say at the start of their turn or end of their turn? That's a huge difference.
I intended it to be at the start. I did start intentionally, but I mean, you can make an argument.
Very strong.
It's also another thing was the inspiration for this is I wish that D&D had more higher level fuck you in particular spells, for lack of a better term. Like,
yeah, right. It's Disintegrate or Bust.
Yeah, Disintegrate, Finger of Death, which isn't that great.
No, it's not.
It's like flavorful and really cool if you do get it to work, but for the most part, it just kind of ends up being you do some damage, less than Disintegrate. So yeah, you're right. Disintegrate or Bust is about it. So
and Disintegrate in its own right is such a bang or bust spell because it does nothing on a fail.
Yeah.
Which actually, interesting note. That's the Woeful Wind also did nothing on a fail, which was intentional.
Yeah, I did note that.
But yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I think there definitely needs to be some stronger single target things. The problem is you can't just amp up the single target damage, because otherwise things get real funky. And so I think actually this dot is a really cool way of doing that. I think this would be a really cool spell where if it's higher level casting, increase that dot. Might be interesting.
Yeah, that might actually be the way, not increasing the base damage, but just increasing the damage over time could be cool. That's probably like a 2d10 at 7 and 3d10 at 9.
Like, I could see this as a cool thing. Instead of submerge in water, if this were submerge in, like, or douse with holy water, or maybe they have to make an ability check to put out the fire rather than just take an action, and then could be a really cool niche for this ability.
Yeah, that could also be a rad way of doing it.
Like
getting a little bit more flavor on there in terms of like the manners in which it's put down.
Maybe it's like make a DCX religion check or something. Might be interesting. I mean, like that makes sense for Hellfire, right?
No,
like,
I get you absolutely. I like the thing I'm worried about is a situation in which, you use it on a Tarask and they don't know how to do that. They can't.
That's a fair. Well, but it's a single target spell against the Tarask. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
How do you solve that?
Well, it's a Dex though. Dex save.
It's dexterity save.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I mean, I think there's some cool stuff. Like, I would almost want to put, rather than saying submerge themselves in water or douse in holy water, I would rather say a creature doused in holy water cannot be affected by the spell. Like,
I think we could do some stuff with holy water in that.
As sort of a
that would also play into the Hellfire deal a lot more.
Yeah, I like that. And for me, the Hellfire was that the flames stick to you, was what I was basically picturing. In some ways, without saying it, I was imagining this being very napalmy, where it's less like...
you look like you're burning in hell, but it's real life.
Yeah, exactly, that. Anyway, I think that's kind of wrap us up for the night. That's Hellfire.
Yeah, so, I mean, chat... There's a lot of really cool ideas coming out. A lot of like improvements on our spell names. Thank you, by the way. Pete and I, we can only be so good with the brain. What it comes down to. So thank you all for all of your ideas. It was a very fun show. Let us know how you feel about it, and that'll help to flavor our future content, or rather inform our future content. But before we go for the evening, we got a quick moment, and we only have 3 questions. So, Pete, let's just hit them up with our favorite segment of the night.
Ask Pete and Jeremy.
All right. It's Ask Pete and Jeremy.
So, a few questions here. Our first one's going to come from Cold Spook, which was from last week, which was, Pete, are you secretly a cat? The answer was no, I was not. I don't think we got to that one last week. But I'm not a cat, I'm more of a dog person. The first new question this week comes from DFraguli1, who asks, who would win between an evil accountant who adds gold to PC's hoard for evil purpose and a real estate agent who is scaring people away from a prime location to ensure a necromancer or demonologist takes it?
They both win. I'm confused.
That's a fair point, Jeremy. As well said.
That being said, I like the evil real estate agent as like an adventure concept for DnDTime a lot.
Those are one of the real estate agents are one of the most intimidating figures in Foon.
I mean, they're one of the most dangerous creatures in Foon. Our next question comes from Maddie Morgs. Pete, you're the dungeon master and will reveal the results of the course of action your player takes as hidden behind the spoiler tags. You may need a D20. Jeremy is an adventurer in a dungeon of your creation and shouldn't look behind the spoiler tags. I haven't. He will not need dice, only wits. Your questions are as follows. It's your turn, Pete. You got to read this question.
Jeremias the Trusted, you enter the door to the north. It is dark and you cannot see. What do you do? Light a torch or just walk in?
I light a torch.
As you light the torch, you look around the room and you see on the far side, it appears to be a man. He's holding boxes. They appear to be boxes depicting small versions of monsters, strange and ferocious. It As you walk in, it appears to be Matty Morg standing on the other side of the room. His hands are filled with boxes of miniatures.
I'm going. Okay. Do I have to? How do I answer this? Do I answer this just as like a quick thing, or like
Jeremiah
long?
is trusted. In 1 or 2 sentences, how do you react to the event that just occurred above?
I throw my torch at Maddie and take his miniatures. Oh no! I'm so evil.
Do I want to? I'm gonna. This is tragically. Tragically. No. I gotta read what this says to do.
Oh yeah, Pete. As this event occurs, what suddenly happens next? You may only pick one. So what do you pick? You pick tragically.
I picked tragically, and I'm reading about it. I realize that we're way past time and need a cliffhanger to tense this moment up. As you throw the torch at Matty Morgs, the screen suddenly flashes. You hear the song Roundabout by Yes, and To Be Continued flashes upon the screen in a classic, Matty Morgs is inevitably probably going to die to this torch, but it's the JoJo's meme.
Wow.
And that was our adventure here today.
Maddie, thank you for your wonderful prompts. I know if other people are interested in playing in a kind of text RPG adventure where you kind of say what you do and it kind of adds into everything else, Matty Morris is doing one of those right now on his Discord. Maddie, you can post a link to your Discord in our channel, in our self-promotion channel on Discord, so that people can jump in and help play along and, play as part of your one-word RPG thing. Also, you can check out Matty Morgs at twitch.tv/Matty Morgs. He's going to be streaming later this evening. Always a blast. And you can buy minis from him, which is what all my minis. Lots. All right. The Ghoulier
Gray asks, if rock tastes good, would it eat rock? No. Because it is still a rock. I will say, if rock tastes good, would taste rock.
What do we define as a rock, though? Like, for example, Pete, what's a hot dog? Is a hot dog a sandwich to you?
I'm undecided.
Okay. Is salt a rock? It's a mineral. Are minerals rocks?
I think that the answer is yes, but on a scale, like, it would be I think salt in the form that you usually get it, like table salt, that is a powder. It is too fine to be considered a rock. So I think there is an amount of size and density that you would have to have for it to be a rock.
I eat rock. We got another question in here from Witch. Jeremy, are you secretly a cat? No. Jeremy has recently announced that he'll be playing League of Legends with everyone on the DnDTime server. Who do you main, Pete/Jeremy?
Is this true, Jeremy?
No, I didn't announce that.
Oh.
But Switch has announced it.
That is
more have declared it, but Pete, who do you main?
I main 3 characters, and they are Dr. Mundo, Tom Kench, and Yasuo.
Only Vagar ever. And with that, that ends our adventure. That ends our little
adventure in there. That's fair.
Our chittle and chattel. Thank you everyone for hanging out, for being a part tonight of these cool spell creation thing. I don't know where we're going to go from here. Maybe we'll polish these up a lot more and put them out at some point for you guys, or let us know what you want, right? Do you just want more cool concepts that are enough? Like, you could take what we did tonight and use them in your own games very reasonably if you were the dungeon master. Or, do you want to see more polish on them? Do you want a more brainstormy-like kind of session where maybe we come up with a wider variety of concepts but don't really flesh them out that deep? Let us know what you're looking for. Let us know how you felt about tonight. And just thank you for being here, of course.
Your opinions have incredible value on this, because
I'll
say this, a lot of the time we don't get a lot of feedback when we ask these sort of questions. So everyone's opinion is like you're a lot of the times you'll be 100% of the voices that we heard if you receive back to us. So do please actually tell us stuff like that.
Yeah, like we really, really, really need to know what you guys like so that we can do more of that. But yeah, thank you all again for being here. Pete, what do we have to look forward to in the next few days?
What an incredible question, Jeremy. What we have to look forward to in the next few days is the finale of this year's Carnival of Souls, which is our big Halloween event. We've been doing it all October, and this upcoming Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, is our raid. Each Carnival of Souls ends with a big dramatic boss battle in which tons of people die and everyone plays, and we're constantly cycling adventurers in and out. It doesn't follow the usual, 3 one-shot format. It's just one long adventure with people subbing in and out as characters die and move on and do different tasks. It's really fun. I highly recommend that if you want to play with us, you do so on Friday. It's going to be a blast.
Absolutely. Going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm very, very excited about it.
And then on Sunday, we actually have nothing this Sunday. We're taking this upcoming Sunday off for DnDTime business. But that is...
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all we got coming up in the upcoming days. I'd like to say one last thank you very much to everyone who tuned in and hung out with us tonight. Much love to you all. Jeremy, do you have anything else?
Thank you, Dude Man, for the follow. Glad you liked what
man.
you saw, and welcome to the community. And thank you, Blood Deuce, once again for that subscription. Thank you.
Thanks,
that's all I got. Thanks. Check out Matty Morgs if you're hankering for more Dungeons and Dragons after this. I know he's going to be going on shortly. Always a great time over at Matty's channel. Yeah.
I'm Pete.
I'm Jeremy.
And this is DnDTime Brews. Good night, everyone.
Good night.